Hello guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Sophia, but you can call me SOFS, and today we're going to be doing a very special video. This is my most highly requested video. I've never had so many people ask me to film something in my entire life. I had 3 people ask me just this weekend. My DMs have been flooded all summer for months. This is going to be my fitness journey and my PCOS journey video. In this video, I'm going to be going over everything in the last 8 to almost 9 years that I have gone through, from the start of my fitness journey to where I'm at currently right now, which includes my weight loss journey, weightlifting, from gaining weight to binge eating to being diagnosed with PCOS, and so much more, all the struggles I had in between, including my experience with birth control and why I got off of it. I've said this before, but it's almost as if it's a blessing in disguise that I've had so many issues and so many experiences when it comes to my health journey as a whole, because although it's not fun to have gone through so many different things, like many people have a weight loss journey, many people have a weight gaining journey, many people have, you know, they have their journey with just lifting weights in general and maybe they didn't have to deal with the other two. Well, I had the whole spectrum. I had it all, and that includes PCOS as well, which was a huge factor in the last 2 years especially. And I went from being absolutely miserable to now living the best and feeling the best that I have ever felt. Feeling stronger in the gym, feeling more empowered overall. And I've had so many people ask me, what do you do? What have you done? How did you get through it? And this video is going to uncover everything in the last 8 years of my life. I'm going to be going over every single year. I even have my laptop with me. I wrote out every single year for the last 8 years, almost every 6 months, all the stages that I went through, the weight loss stage, the weight gaining stage, from, you know, being very insecure to getting stronger in the gym, starting in the gym, being diagnosed with PCOS. I go through it all. What I'm here to do today for you guys is not to tell you what to do, it's just to let you know what I did and what helped me. So I want to make this very clear from the start. This is not professional medical advice. For professional medical advice, you need to go to a doctor. I am not a doctor. I've had many people ask me to make this video because there's not many people out there speaking about the tips and tricks that you can naturally do to help your symptoms with PCOS and many other things when it comes to your fitness journey. I'm also a personal trainer and was a coach a few years back, so I just have it in me to really want to help and provide as much information to help as many people as I can, because if I look it up right now, like things to help with what I had and what I went through, I mean, a simple Google search nowadays, you look it up for any symptom ever that you have, you're overwhelmed. There's no clear answers. You just don't know. I want to be able to help the people that have maybe similar situations to mine, maybe similar stories, similar fitness journeys overall. And if you do, maybe you can give one of the natural things that I have done a try. And if they do help you, well, that's the goal. This has been a very challenging video for me to film, because when it comes to talking about health online, you don't want to say anything that will trigger anyone. You don't want to provide information that will do the opposite of helping someone. Like, it becomes a situation where I want to be very careful, and I just want to make sure I have the storyline straight, especially since I'll be going back the last 8 to almost now 9 years of my life and my fitness journey. There's just so much to unpack, and it becomes very overwhelming to go through year by year. But I knew I wanted to do this. I knew I had to do this. There's so many girls that have been asking me, especially recently, that they've had all kinds of symptoms, similar stories to me, and I'm like, okay, it's time. Also, I want to apologize. I had to leave my door open, so if you hear the fan coming through, it is so hot in this room, and it's the only place that I can film, unfortunately. I've got the window and the sun right in front of me, as you can see. Hopefully it goes down. I'll be filming this for a few hours, so hopefully it goes down eventually, because I'm sweating. I am not putting this to the side anymore. We're gonna get into this. We're just gonna jump right into this. It's time to start helping people. Before I begin and backtrack to 2016, because that's where the story starts, again, I want to make it very clear, and I'm going to put this in the description box below, that I am not providing any medical advice right here. I am not a medical professional. You should definitely seek a medical professional's advice when it comes to you having symptoms of any kind before. This is just a video to give you tips and tricks to help you deal with some situations that you might be having on your fitness journey, on your PCOS journey. These are all natural tips. I'll not be giving any kind of medical advice or anything of that sort. I'm just gonna let you know on my experiences and the things that I naturally did to help me on my journey. Okay, so I'm gonna be including pictures so you could see how I was looking. I'm gonna let you guys know how I was feeling, what I was going through, the tips, of course, and basically everything I went through mentally during these times and during the past 8 years. We're just gonna go straight into it. All of this started back in the summer of 2016. So we're late 2024 now. Actually exactly 8 years ago. So this is where I noticed that something had to change. So before I get into the summer of 2016 and where this whole story kind of started, I just want to give you guys a quick background update of what my life was like before then. So before then, I was just a young kid in high school that was playing competitive soccer about 4 to 5 times a week. So I was super active. Now I wasn't active in the gym. Like back then when you're really young, I wasn't in a gym yet. I didn't have a gym membership. I was eating any meals that my mom was making me at the time. Again, I was very young. I was in school. Basically, my life was between school and soccer. I would play soccer like 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 times a week. So that was my activity. And I was playing pretty intensely, competitively. Played soccer for almost 12 years, I believe. And all summer, even during the winter, I'd play through the winter. It'd be at least 4 times a week. And then the summer would go to like 5, 6 times a week with tournaments. So I was very competitive. I think I already have to move because the sun is glaring. Just a quick little background on my life before all of my fitness journey started. Really not much to say. Again, just in school, playing soccer, nothing much was happening. However, a lot of this started when I stopped playing soccer. Now this is gonna relate to a lot of ex-athletes out there. I didn't realize when I stopped playing soccer due to some knee injuries and just moving on from that time in my life. I went from playing every single day, nearly every single day, intense games where I was drenched in sweat, could barely breathe. I remember going to a few doctor's appointments because of how intensely my games were playing. Overall, it was a very competitive and intense sport. And after playing it for 10 to 12 years and immediately just stopping, I didn't know how much of an impact it would have on my body. I had no idea. Just because I stopped playing, like my body wouldn't function the same way it would function. I had no idea how much muscle I was building, how much strength I was building from being that active. I had no idea anything about what calories even were and anything about my food. I had no idea the impact of stopping the sport would have on my body. And that is where the story begins. After soccer and after some time, it was late high school, meaning about 10th, 11th grade, that a lot of things just started to get stressful. Again, I wasn't playing. I didn't know anything about the gym. This is before any of this. I started to gain weight, and I started to gain weight quick. And I had no idea where it was coming from. It came out of nowhere. This is because I just went from being an active, competitive athlete to stopping completely. So basically what happened was in the last couple years of high school, I had stopped soccer, I think around grade 9, so a few years into high school. My last 2 years, I wasn't playing, and I ended up gaining weight quick. I went from having, let's say like a young athletic body for someone that was about 15 at the time, to putting on the most weight I had ever put on so incredibly fast, not knowing like how to react, what to eat, not knowing anything. I was just like, oh my gosh. I looked in the mirror one day. Summer of 2016 was my heaviest weight that I had ever been. I was 183.1 pounds. Now just to give you a reference, today after my weight loss and after building muscle, I am now 155 pounds, approximately, give or take, you know, a pound extra or 2, depending on the day, depending on my cycle. A senior in high school, you're about to graduate, you're getting stressed for college. I didn't know anything about the gym. I didn't know anything about eating. I had been on birth control for over a year and a half, about, and some of the effects started to get to me. Now, this is very common when you first get on birth control. The first year or so, you're gonna see your body change a lot. And I guess I was pretty ignorant to that. My body was changing. I'd stopped playing soccer, as I mentioned. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't know what the gym was. I didn't have a membership. I even remember joining a local gym twice and canceling the membership after the first one was the second day I canceled it, and the second one I canceled it a month later, but I had never gone just because I didn't even know what to do in the gym. I didn't know what to do. Back then, there was no social media. There was nothing happening. There was just the internet and Google, and if you would look it up, you'd get like the worst answers ever in terms of what you should do and what step to take when you're first starting out your fitness journey. Even though I saw the weight gain and I tried to do something about it initially, I immediately fell off that course. I canceled both my memberships. I was on my first ever trip with my boyfriend to Cuba. I have the photos and I will put up some of the photos here, that I realized, okay, this is the heaviest that I've ever been, and I am lost and I don't know what to do. And I don't know what's happened to my body. And I don't know what steps to take to be healthy again. I was completely lost. And this continued for over a year and a half. So trust me, if anyone else is going through it, where you were just living your normal life and all of a sudden life hits you and you find yourself in a situation like, I don't even recognize my body anymore. What has happened to me? Let me be the first to tell you that it's not overnight. I didn't come back from that trip to Cuba that I went to with my boyfriend and realized through these pictures, like, oh my gosh, I didn't recognize myself. I didn't come back the next day and say, okay, I have all the answers, I'm gonna change it overnight. No, I had no idea what to even do. Yes, it hurt me and I was sad and I felt insecure and I didn't like the way my body looked at all. I also just was unhappy with it. I didn't feel like I was myself. I felt like I was living in another body. But did I know how to fix that right away? No. Did I know how to fix it tomorrow or the week after? No. I didn't even know how to fix it the month after. It was over a year and a half that I stayed exactly the same. In that course of a year and a half, that's when I started to really, really become insecure. I would hide my body in baggy, dark clothes. Any chance I'd get, I'd hide myself in a picture behind people. I was just completely embarrassed to step out in public. I would usually stay home. That is also why I didn't go out much when I was younger during that time. I couldn't bear to step outside the house. It would tear me apart. I felt like everyone was looking at me. I became so self-conscious. And as a result is when I started binge eating. And that's where it gets even worse, because starting that cycle, you're just digging your hole deeper and deeper and you don't even know, because when you start binge eating, you're just looking for a way to cope. You're looking for a way to feel better about your situation. I just remember it as being the only thing comforting me during that time. I didn't have friends or people to help me or guide me. I didn't know what the gym was. I didn't know how to seek any help. I didn't know anything. So for me, having my favorite meal, having my favorite snack or dessert or whatever it might be, it was an outlet for me to just feel better in that moment. It would give me a rush. And that's where the cycle begins. Because I had no other outlet to reach out to, I looked to food as my answer. That persisted for over a year and a half, as I mentioned. And again, I want to remind you guys, I was also a year and a half on birth control. So that's important because it's a part of the story. So now we're looking at summer of 2017. So the year after, I was the same weight, which means that nothing improved. As I mentioned, it was a year and a half. So I'm just letting you guys know the year after what happened. Same weight, nothing improved. I had no guidance. I didn't know what to do. I had just started college. I was very stressed. It's now 2 to 2.5 years that I was on birth control. Stress was at an all-time high, which doesn't help your body at all. Let me tell you, if you can eliminate 70% of the stress from your life, you have no idea how much your body's gonna change. I've always told this to people and past clients. To give you an example, I used to have a client that was doing everything perfectly in terms of her meals. She was following her workout plan. She was doing everything and more to achieve her fitness goals, and she was not losing any weight. However, this is where the crazy part is. she had the most stressful situation going on. Her work was at an all-time stress. Everything at home was at a stress. Relationships, everything from A to Z, she was stressed 24/7, which was affecting her sleep. It was affecting her mood. It was affecting her digestion. She didn't realize how much of a stress that she had, that when I told her, if you want to see progress, you need to lower these stressors. You need to start focusing on your stress more than anything, because you're doing everything else that you need to do. Let me tell you that when she realized, okay, I'm just gonna go all in and focus on just eliminating all my stress and doing everything I could to just be happier, get some more sleep, and just be more in tune with my body, she hit those goals almost instantly, because like I said, she was already following her meal plan and her workout plan at the time. So when I tell you stress has one of the most important factors when it comes to seeing results on your fitness journey, I'd say it's right up there with sleep and proper nutrition. If you can have stress down, proper nutrition, and good sleep, even without the gym, you have no idea. You are going to see 90% of your results right there. Again, nothing had changed. 2 to 2.5 years on birth control. Stress was at an all-time high. Still no gym. I didn't like my body. I didn't like how it looked. Was focusing on school. Fast forward to when everything changed. So as you guys can see, I went through a very tough journey for a good 2.5 years. I had been struggling with weight gain just a little bit before that, but when I was at my heaviest, I stayed that way for a good 2 years of no change. And those were the hardest years ever. It's gonna be super funny to watch back because I keep having to move since the sun is going down and it's going directly in my face. Now we're getting to a more exciting part, in the sense that things are changing. Fast forward to February of 2018. So it was winter 2018. This is when I said enough was enough. I was the same weight. Nothing had changed. I didn't know what to do, how to do it. I just knew that I couldn't take it anymore. Everyone has their turning point, and whenever it comes, usually there's a small event that happens. Usually something triggers you in your head. That's the one thing I can't give everyone an answer for, is like, when is it going to change for you? And sometimes it's just, all you need is one piece of advice. If you live the same day today, you're going to have the same day tomorrow, meaning that if you don't do anything differently today, then tomorrow nothing's going to change. So if that's enough to motivate you, that's amazing. Some people, it might be an event. Some people, it might be whatever it might be. There's going to be something that eventually positively triggers you to make a change. And for me, it was during this time. It was February 2018. For me, I wanted to feel confident in my summer body, which I now don't agree with, but I'll get to that eventually. But back then, my goal was to feel confident in my summer body, because I knew during the summer I wear less layers of clothes, I don't wear as much, and I want to feel confident in my body. And I didn't feel like staying inside and hiding my body anymore. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to be able to wear a bathing suit and go out and feel confident in it. So what did I do? What did a young girl like myself, that had no experience of anything in the fitness industry, no experience of anything in health, that wanted to see a change in her body, that wanted to feel confident in her body by the summertime, what did I do in order to get some answers? Well, I turned to the worst thing possible at the time, the internet. The internet in 2018 was the worst resource ever to turn to when it comes to help for your fitness and your health journey. Nowadays, there is a lot more helpful information out there. A lot of it is biased, a lot of it is controversial, but let me tell you that in 2018, if anyone remembers, that was a time where getting any answers in terms of weight loss, in terms of gaining muscle, whatever it might be, turning to the internet was the worst possible thing. The internet in 2018 was flooded with skinny teas, those waist trainers that they'd say you'd wear and your waist would shrink, keto diets telling you no sugar, no carbs, basically not to eat anything. The internet was the worst possible outlet. But again, I was young. I wasn't gonna go and pay for a trainer. Like I didn't even know any better. A Google search was the easiest thing for me. I ended up buying the skinny teas. I ended up buying the waist trainers. I ended up buying all these like very poorly constructed workout guides, and there was nothing in order Nothing that was catered or personalized to me and my health and was taking into account my body, my measurements, my size. There was nothing. So I was just going off general tips that were given to the public that were bad tips overall. Another thing is there weren't all these like user-friendly fitness apps out there. Today, there's a ton of fitness apps out there where you can go and get workout programs, you can get meals and recipes, and there's a ton. There were none of these apps out there. There was nothing you can follow that you can input your measurements and your goals and your preferences into an app. Back then, there was none of that would give you something that was personalized to you. It wasn't happening. Back then, all you could do is go in person to a trainer at your local gym and get some tips. There weren't anyone that would even help you with meals. Like, it just wasn't the time for that. So what did I do? Well, I did one full day of hardcore research. One day. One day that I told myself, okay, I just learned everything I need to know, and that's going to be enough. And I'm going to follow everything that I learned in that one day, which was probably like 6 hours of Googling things that I didn't even understand. Basically what I did was one full day of hardcore research. And then the next day when I woke up in the morning, I told myself that I'm going to do everything that I learned from the research I had done the day before, from all the notes I had taken, and I'm going to give myself the goal of aiming to be in the 140s for my weight in the summer. Now, why is that a terrible idea? And I even say this today. Aiming for a specific number goal on the scale is not going to help you. If you want to see progress and you want to be able to track it, you need to be taking weekly progress photos. Because what happens when you start weightlifting? You're going to go through body recomposition. And in simple terms, what happens is you're going to be building muscle while you're simultaneously losing weight. What happens is basically your weight's going to come down because you're training so intensely and you're burning calories in the gym, but your weight's also going to be going up because you're building muscle underneath that. Your body fluctuates. Women have hormone cycles. We go through our cycles and our body changes. Some days we're a bit more inflamed. Stress is a factor. There's a lot of things to take into account. If you're sticking to your goals and you're working towards it and you're being consistent and you give yourself 12 weeks and you take a picture of yourself in the same clothes, at the same time of day, in the same poses for 12 weeks, at the end of every week, you take it first thing in the morning, you do that for 12 weeks straight and you are consistent and you're taking those same weekly progress photos, I promise you, you are going to see a change. Please, please, please do not set yourself a scale goal. Scale's not going to change much at first, but your body will see a huge difference in terms of how it looks. So that is why it is so important to not focus on the scale. Overnight, I took every tip that I learned and I put it all into play. Overnight, I went keto, I went no sugar, no carb, bulletproof coffee in the morning, eggs at lunch, chicken at dinner, no rice, no carbs, no dessert, some vegetables, and very little fruit. So essentially no nutrients, because that's what the internet had taught me at the time, which is something that I laugh at now. I can't believe how many people, because I know I'm not alone in this, turned to the internet and saw this as our answer. That's what happened in February 2018. Overnight, I took everything I learned from the internet and I gave myself a goal for the summer. Fast forward to the end of May 2018. May 24th, 2018 to be exact. So it was 4 months later. I was down 40 pounds. And I know you might be thinking, well, what? Like, you lost the weight. What are you talking about? Why aren't you excited about it? Like, did you not achieve your goal of being in the 140s like you wanted? It was the most unhealthiest way to lose weight. And as a result, I didn't realize how much it would negatively affect the rest of my journey going forward. Let me start by saying, if I had done this the right way and I had access to the information I did today and I knew what I knew today, which you can go get because there are professionals out there and it's a lot easier to seek that help nowadays. If I had done this the proper way, my 8-year fitness journey would have probably been easily explained in 3 years. That's why I'm putting this video out there today, is to save you guys from everything that I went through. Again, I want to remind you guys that I'm still on birth control at this point. It's been a few years. I was down 40 pounds, but I felt terrible. I was weak. I had no energy. I didn't want to do anything because all I did for the past 4 months was starve my body of all the foods and all the nutrients it needed to function properly, causing me to be sluggish during the day. I didn't want to move. When I think back to that time, I remember barely getting up off the couch. I remember crashing by 12 o'clock. I remember having absolutely no energy, whereas now, today, 8 years later, I am full high energy on no coffee, and I'm going till 9-10 p.m. at night. So I had no energy. I was weak. I was always sick. It's important to know. When you're getting sick that often, it's something to look into. I wasn't in the gym at the time. This was all from food only, that I lost weight in the most unhealthy way. My body could barely function. And overall, it was just a time that I never wanted to feel like that ever again. I'll never do that to my body. I can't believe that I put my body through that much stress, thinking it didn't deserve to be nourished properly. Guess what happens? Well, less than a month later, June 22nd, 2018, I had like a good 1 week to 2 week period of enjoying myself being super lean, being the leanest I had ever been. It was the end of June, and I realized I can't take this anymore. I was like, I can't even go out and show the body that I have because I can't even get off the couch. I can't even leave my house. I have no energy. I just didn't feel like being there anymore. Less than a month later, that satisfaction from that weight loss wore off, and I just wanted to be strong and feel good again. So if this is going to teach anyone here going through the same thing, something similar, no matter how bad I wanted it, for over 2 years, I was the most insecure I ever was in my body, and I would do anything to have lost the weight. So if you're thinking, okay, let me try and take the quick way out because I just can't take it, let me be the one to tell you that it is not worth it. It's not worth it. You're better off taking the slow route that everyone else, that route that's going to be healthier for your body long term. Doesn't mean that it's not going to provide you with wins along the way. You will see changes in your body. Naturally, if you're sticking to the plan and you're consistent, you will find yourself stronger. If you lift a pair of dumbbells every single day that are 10 pounds, and you lift them every single day for 1 month straight, I guarantee you that at the end of the month, it's going to be easier to lift them up than it was at the beginning of the month. The same goes for nutrition. If you follow it every single day, it'll become like second nature. Just like when you brush your teeth, you don't think that you have to brush your teeth, you just brush your teeth every single day. That is what it's going to be like eventually for you. That just because it might take some more time, it doesn't mean that it's the bad choice. It's the way better choice. It's the choice that you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to be provided with tons of smaller wins. You're going to become stronger and more confident along the way. And you're not going to do any harm to your body in the long run. So back to the story. June was the month where I kind of convinced myself I was healthy, even though I absolutely wasn't. No strength. I was weak. I was sick. I just couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to be able to get out. It was summer and I couldn't get off the couch. July 2018, I decided to make a change, and this is the start of my weightlifting journey. I had no idea what I was doing. And the resources back then, online, whatever they were, there wasn't much, and it wasn't very informative. So what was I doing? I was just showing up to the gym at first. I didn't know what I was doing. I was going to the gym 6 times a week, training the exact same thing 6 times a week. It wasn't overnight that I got myself consistently in there. It took some time to first warm up to the environment. When I first started going to the gym, I remember some days I would go just to stretch. Some days I'd walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and then I would leave. All that mattered was that I was taking that first step and stepping into the gym. So if anyone here has any gym anxiety and they're trying to get past that, first, get yourself comfortable with the environment. You don't even need to think about training. Start with just recognizing the space that you're in. So if you need to, drive past the gym every single day for the first week. The second day, park and head in. Obviously at this point you're going to need a membership if you want to get in, but you could start by going in, heading into the locker room, familiarizing yourself with the space, and then going to the mat section where people stretch and just stretch. You made it to the gym that day. Just because you didn't train, it doesn't mean you didn't go to the gym. There's some days where I go just to stretch out my hamstrings. They might be a little bit sore. You went to the gym. You showed up. And I promise you the next day that you show up, it's going to be 10 times easier to show up. And the following week, maybe start walking on the treadmill. And then the following week, maybe head to the dumbbell section. Choose a section. Keep it in your private section. Grab a pair of weights and do your whole workout there. And slowly, this is where you're going to gain your confidence in the gym, and you're going to build up that confidence to be able to go when you feel like it. But it doesn't come overnight. Don't let it get in your head if you're like, why can I get past this? It takes time. Everyone's different. Some people it's quicker, some people it takes a lot longer. For me, it took me quite a while. 2018 till 2020, that's the first 2 years of my weightlifting journey. And I'm gonna go into that a little bit right now. So what was that like for me? The beginning of my weightlifting journey. It's different for everyone. The first 2 years of my weightlifting journey, it was all trial and error. I had no idea what I was doing. I was looking up workouts on Instagram. I was buying glute guides online anywhere that I could. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I just saw something and I was like, oh, okay, that's the exact way to do it. I'm gonna do that. It took me almost 2 years to find a good rhythm in the gym. I started asking coaches at the gym for advice on training. That didn't come in the first 6 months. It came at least a year to a year and a half in. Because I didn't know what I was doing, I felt better for moving my body, and I did gain some muscle mass, but it was very little because I was overtraining the same muscle like 6 times a week. And what I mean by that is my legs, because I wasn't training my upper body at all. I wasn't even focusing on my core, my mobility, anything else. All I was doing back then was I'd look up glute guides, I'd look up leg days, I'd do them, and then I would repeat the same workout 6 times a week. I didn't know what to do with the weight. I wasn't increasing the weight. I was just doing the machines. I was just going through the motions. Slowly, as I went through, by the end of the 2 years is where I built some more confidence to ask some people. I would also watch others. I'd watch other people in the gym. I mean, when people are right next to you doing the same exercise, you can look at them and you could be like, oh, maybe I should be trying it like that, and it'd feel a little bit better. Another reason why I do encourage you to go to the gym and just observe, maybe walk on the treadmill for a bit and observe how some people are doing their exercises. What happened after overtraining the same muscles 6 times a week with bad form, I was not eating enough to gain muscle either. I still didn't have much knowledge in terms of nutrition. This is when I jumped into the gym. It doesn't mean that my nutrition at the time had improved. Slowly and over time, as I learned more, I stopped training legs 6 times a week and I started training legs 3 times a week. That was like the first little win that I had, that I knew that I was improving. And that was based from other people's advice. And then I slowly learned about program training and doing the same workouts every Monday, doing the same workouts every Tuesday, the same every Wednesday, and setting myself up a program where every single week I'm doing different workout days, but I'm following them every single week. So that way I'm sticking to the program. My relationship with food still wasn't amazing. I'd restrict all carbs. I stayed away from sweets. And it ended up, as I got more proper advice towards the end of those 2 years, I started building more muscle because I was finally doing things right. I wasn't overtraining. It was progressive overloading. I was following more of a structured program. I had a better understanding of how to do the exercises. However, it was all in my legs because I wasn't prioritizing my upper body at all, my core. Now, yes, I made some improvements. They were very targeted, and I still had a lot more to make in that department had I known. For example, even though my goal was to grow my glutes all that time, I still wasn't doing the exercises perfectly or training properly. Like, I still didn't know what I was doing despite making those small wins. And most of the growth that happened were in my quads. It wasn't until recently that I learned how to train my glutes properly and I actually started to see some progress. By the end of those 2 years, I obviously started feeling better from being in the gym. My relationship with food slightly improved, and what I mean by that is I just didn't restrict as much and as harshly as I did when I lost those 40 pounds, but it still wasn't great. I wasn't giving myself all the nutrients. I was still following some things I shouldn't have been following. I had built a little bit of muscle. Everything was targeted in my legs, but slowly I'd make little wins. I was following more of a program. I obviously have more energy throughout the day because I was getting myself moving more and I was in the gym. And by the end of the 2 years was when I started to feel really strong. Again, a lot of the progress was in my lower body. Don't be fooled by the photo that I'm going to show you. You might think that this is my best shape or this was when I was super in shape. I wasn't. Internally, nutrition, everything else. It's just that I was training my legs so often, so frequently that I built up strength, that my leg growth built so much. A lot of my glute pics back then were all posing, but that's where I was at the end of those 2 years, just to give you guys a timeline of what that looked like. I had no upper body strength, and by that time, I was about 4 years on birth control, so it had settled in my body at that time. I was used to it, and it wasn't really having an impact on me at the time. I didn't know there was going to be an impact down the road, but at the time there wasn't much of an impact. That's at the end of the first 2 years of my weightlifting journey. March 2020, COVID hits. Now this is where I know I'm not alone in my story, and I know that some people have, you know, a much crazier story and they have a lot more to tell, and I'm just gonna let you know what I went through. But obviously it was a big change. Things went very downhill for me in terms of my fitness journey because gyms were closed. And that outlet that I had, that place that I was going so often, that I finally had a routine and that made me feel better mentally, and I just had a place that it was my safe space, it was my outlet, it was taken away from me. So what did I have left? I had the gym in my parents' basement. I was living back with them at the time, and thankfully I did have that. Some people didn't have anything, so I was very grateful and very blessed to have had that. It was just a couple dumbbells. When I say gym, it was a bench with 3 or 4 dumbbells. There wasn't much. I couldn't lift heavy. I gained a ton of weight, and it was very quick. Now, where we are here in Canada, we had it probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in terms of restrictions. I know they even said that somewhere, but our gyms were closed for, I think, right over 2 years, where in most places it was like a year, and then, you know, maybe 6 months, and then they implemented certain restrictions and they had different things. But for us, it was at least 2 years where you couldn't even step inside a gym. And for many people, including myself, we lost a ton of progress in the gym. Basement gym workouts, I still wasn't training upper body at the time. I was at home all the time. I wasn't doing anything because it's COVID. We were locked up. So even that on top of it, I was gaining weight quick. I didn't move for around a year. I was burning some calories in the basement gym, but it was nothing compared to what I used to gym, because when you weightlift heavy weights, you burn a ton more than when you're doing very, very light weights. Nothing for 2 years. In between of 2021, that's when I tried to learn more about bulking and cutting. And that phase kind of went into play, which again, I was not doing properly. I thought from what I saw online, and I thought from hearing it from others, that you just go and eat more food during the winter and then eat less food during the summer, and somehow my body is going to do 1 + 1 = perfect body by the end of summer. I don't know what I was thinking, but obviously that's not how it worked. Thankfully, even though it was COVID, about a year in, when I started to accept the fact that things were closed and I was like, I just can't do this anymore, I had the discipline at least to show up every single day. So yes, I had put on weight, and yes, I wasn't seeing as much results as I was in the gym, but at least I had some of that discipline and I was showing up. I would do the basement workouts. I would head to private gyms and pay for them just so that I can have access to a gym that would only allow 1 person, and I would pay for them, like even if it was once a week. And I ended up stopped doing that because the price, you know, it ends up packing on over time. But I knew I had to stick to something, and that's what I'm very proud of, is having that discipline to say, okay, at least let me do what I can. When the gym did its trial runs and opened up for like a couple period of weeks at a time, I would jump on that. I would make sure my schedule was clear and at least take advantage of when I could. So after the first year into COVID, the discipline was thankfully there. I took every advantage I could. I just didn't want to take my foot off the gas completely. Also another lesson there, that if something comes about in your life that is going to put your life to a halt for a while, whatever it might be, give yourself the grace and show up when you can. And you know for a while you're going to be like out of commission, whatever it might be, give yourself the grace and just show up when you can. But don't take your foot off the gas completely. Trust me, it's going to keep you so disciplined and motivated in the long run. Like, wow, I actually still showed up. Even though all circumstances were against me, I didn't let it tear me down. And here I am in 2021, where I'm all over the place with bulking and cutting and not really knowing how to do it properly. Not even knowing if I wanted to. I just saw other people doing it, so I tried too. I would bulk, try and gain muscle, and then cut a few months later, sometimes for trips. This often happens for people for vacations, is they'll try and lean out for a vacation, and it'll be something super unhealthy for their body, and then they come back from vacation and gain a ton of it back, and it might even be worse, or whatever it might be. Stop setting your goal for a trip, or stop setting it for just an event. Stop setting it up for a one-time thing. It does more harm than good. You want to make sure that you're making progress long term. You do not want to make the mistake that I did. Take the baby steps. It's always better than taking the fast route. It's not going to help you in the long run, and you won't be able to sustain the results that you achieve. Okay, now fast forward to 2022. I was so happy to finally be past that. I was so happy that gyms were finally opening back up. I saw a light at the end of the tunnel. So here I am, 2022. I decided to do my personal training certificate. I was tired of just turning to the internet and turning to other people. I was like, I want to learn how to do this for myself and for other people. I want to be able to get all the information that I did. So right before the end of 2022, leading up into the beginning of 2022, I did my CPT, my personal training certificate, but I also went and informed myself from coaches in the industry that had been doing it for many, many years. I went to go seek advice from them. I did a ton of research. I'm talking a ton, with studies, and I did everything I could just to be able to understand my body more. I was feeling more confident in my body because the gyms were opening and I was hitting the gym more. I started gaining some muscle back, and I finally started training my upper body, which sounds crazy because only now I started working my upper body. I even have my gym workouts in my parents' basement that if I were to look back, it's all me on the ground doing hip thrusts with dumbbells. I wasn't training my upper body. I wasn't giving it any focus. Now that I got my personal training certificate, I realized how important your upper body is for your overall health. It's also important for your upper body to train your lower body. You need to have the upper body strength. It's important for everything. You can't be neglecting certain muscle groups. You just can't be neglecting your upper body just because you think, oh, if I train my upper body, oh, it's going to get too bulky. It's not going to get too bulky. Do you understand how much you would have to train your upper body for it to look bulky? It would take you training the heaviest weight that you could possibly lift every single day of the week for a year straight for you to start looking bulky. Bulky also takes into account how much fat is on your body, which means that if you're super lean, let me tell you, if you're super lean and you're training your upper body every single day, which likely you're not anyway, but if you are and you're super lean, I'm pretty sure you're going to like those arms of yours. I'm pretty sure you're going to like that back of yours, because bulky is not just about the weight you're lifting. It also has to do with how much fat. Everyone's different. We all have a different amount of fat that is stored on different parts of our body. Another thing to mention is you cannot spot reduce fat. If you want to be losing fat in a specific part of your body, well, you're going to have to lose fat everywhere, which just comes from being in a deficit. Genetics also play a huge role. Everyone holds fat in different parts of their bodies. Some might be their arms, some might be their legs. For me, it's my legs and my hips. I'll hold a lot more fat there. Because I had my personal training certificate, I started to know what I was doing in the gym. I started to know how to do exercises properly. And as a result, I started gaining more confidence. I was training my upper body. Now also keep in mind, at this point now, I'm already 7 years on birth control. 7 years. I know it doesn't seem like it with this story timeline, but it had been 7 years. And at 7 years in, it starts to creep up on you. And you want to know what's crazy is the amount of women today that have told me how much birth control didn't affect them for the longest period of time. And then 7, 8, sometimes 10 years in, they start to just realize what's going on. It took 7 years for me to even be affected by this, or even know that I was being affected by it. So at the time, even though I was more confident and I was physically looking more in shape, training was a lot better, mentally, I was at an all-time low. I had never any issues except when I was going through that weight gaining phase that was taking a huge toll on my mental health. And it's never someone to just struggle mentally. I just wasn't. Like, yes, there were stressors in life, but anxiety, like depression, things like that, they were just never a huge part of my life until now. Until 7 years in on birth control. No, I was more in shape physically. I was stronger in the gym. I felt more confident in my physical body. Mentally, I was at a 0. I was mad all the time. I keep saying this word wrong. I'm probably saying it wrong. My libido or my libido. Some people say it differently. I don't remember how it's said, but it was down to the ground. And then I started to pick up that despite pushing myself, because I had started seeing progress over the years of my weightlifting journey, despite pushing myself, there came around a time where I was like, this isn't adding up. Like 8 to 12 weeks would go by and I'd be like, should be seeing more progress right now. And that's when I started to question. 3 months into 2022, March 2022, after gaining more confidence physically in the gym, couldn't understand why I wasn't seeing any progress at the beginning of that year in 2022. I also couldn't understand why my mental health was at an all-time low. I was angry. I was mad all the time. And things were just not adding up. So the first question I asked is, okay, if I'm doing everything correct now, that I know that I'm doing, yes, there's always still improvement that I can make, and I did make along the way, especially in the last 2 years. But even came to a point when I checked myself into a doctor, not to get into that, but that's how low it got. And I couldn't understand why, because I was doing everything for me to be in better shape and better mentally. And usually a gym, naturally, it should make you feel better. It should make you should feel better when you're done your workouts. Well, I was feeling just as depressed when I was done. And that was like, okay, something's not adding up. Or what am I doing currently? Well, it's likely what I'm taking every single day that I don't even fully comprehend, because I don't know much information about it. I just started it and got on it 7 years ago. I don't even know what this is possibly doing to me anymore. Before I need to take any steps further and look at this more closely, because I started to become really concerned about how low my libido was, I started to become very concerned with my mental health. I was like, okay, I need to have nothing in my body that's going to affect me, because every day I'm taking this pill. Naturally, it's changing my hormones. Obviously, that's what the purpose of it is. I need to have none of that affected. I need to be fully in control. I wanted to be fully in control of my body again. So in March of 2022, I stopped taking birth control. For everyone coming off birth control, this is where you need to take notes. This is where you need to pay attention. Things took a turn, and I was not expecting it. The next 6 months were a lot, and they usually will be. Now learn that that's what usually happens is the first 6 months when you come off, a lot of changes happen, because essentially you're taking a hormone that was placed into your body every single day, and you're just taking it out. So your body doesn't know how to function on its own. It's on and off periods, very inconsistent. I had all the symptoms that you can possibly look up when you look up getting off birth control. Thankfully and luckily, I had a friend at the time that she's the one that told me, you know what, just do it. And I listened to her. She's the reason why I took the leap and I got off. She recommended to me this book. The book is called, take note of it, buy it. I will link it down below in the description. You can get it off Amazon. It's a very affordable book, and the book that changed my life and I still use to this day. It's called Beyond the Pill by Dr. Jolene Brighton. A 30-day program to balance your hormones, reclaim your body, and reverse the dangerous side effects of the birth control pill. If I didn't have this book, I don't know where I'd be. Like, I really don't. This book helped me incredibly. The best part about this book is that it's divided up into chapters, and every chapter will serve you. There's a chapter on PCOS. There's a chapter of what happens like when you first get off the pill. Another thing is there's a quiz at the end of the book that you can read and you can check off your symptoms. Once you check it off, you can go to the bottom of the quiz and figure out what section you have to read to know how to best take care and treat your symptoms. All of this is naturally. So because of this book, I learned how to naturally reclaim my body through supplements. For example, magnesium, omega-3, different vitamins like vitamin B, vitamin B12. If you have been hesitant for a long time now to get off the pill because you're not sure how it's going to affect your body, you're not sure how your body's going to react, you're not sure how the next 6 months are going to go, and you want to make sure that you're ready to go, you're prepped, you know what you need to be doing. There is a way to counteract the effect. If you do what I did, despite having a lot of side effects still, had I not done them, they would have been a lot worse. March 2022, it took me all the way until September of 2022 to fully reclaim my body. And let me tell you, after that, April, May, June, July, August, September, so 6 months, exactly 6 months. After those 6 months, life off the pill was amazing. My libido, through the roof. Mental health, through the roof. I had never been happier. I felt so in control of my body. I was so angry that I stayed on this thing for 7+ years. There's a serious reason why you need to be on this pill. Again, I'm not providing any medical advice, but I just want to say from personal experience, that would be the reason why I think most people would jump towards it. But if you're not even sure why you're taking it anymore, it's likely a sign that you should look at other options. Ton of alternatives. Don't need to be taking something that is going to chemically change the way that your body functions every single day, that removes all control that you have. Trust me, reclaiming back your body and feeling what a 28-day cycle feels like, because when you're on your pill, you don't actually have your period. It's just called a withdrawal. Reclaiming my body after those 6 months, thanks to the help from this book as well, was the best feeling ever. I remember that fall season, I was like, is this what I could have felt like all this time? I'm not going to go into like, oh, okay, you should take this much magnesium and this much this and this much that. I highly recommend reaching towards the books. A lot of it will just give you natural supplements, like I just mentioned. And again, for everyone, it's different. I think you have to be, it needs to be personalized. That's why there's a quiz in the book too. Shout out to Dr. Jolene Brighton. She's the best women's health doctor that I've ever come across, and she changed my life. But there's a lot of natural things you can do to help those first 6 months. Now, when it comes to PCOS, which I will get into very soon, that's a whole different ballgame. That one, I'm going to give you some things that you can do and things that have helped me. But when it comes to getting off the pill, everyone for the first 6 months has to go through it. Taking some natural supplements will help a ton. Make sure you're high on vitamins and nutrients. Read the book, and trust me, your transition off of it for 6 months will be a lot easier on you. How did it feel when I finally got off? I felt amazing. Libido was through the roof. I was super strong in the gym. And let me remind you that I wasn't drinking any caffeine at the time, and I still don't. I felt like a superhuman. I remember those months very well, and I just felt so good to feel strong and in control again. From fall to winter 2022, free from birth control, back in control. I had my CPT, so I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing more in the gym. I just felt better. I was a consistent routine. I was back on track, back on schedule. Gyms were open. Things were going well. That whole fall, winter season was just amazing. It was a few months that I think back to, and I'm like, wow, that was a good time. And January 2023 rolls around, and I'm like, what happened? I'm getting waves of tiredness. I'm insanely bloated. I was feeling just so strange all the time. The biggest indicator was definitely the fatigue. I went from feeling my best, especially since I just got off birth control and reclaiming my body the last 3 to 4 months, from feeling terrible and bloated and fatigued all the time. And I started feeling tired and just, I was like, what is going on? I was feeling amazing. And there's literally no reason why all of a sudden, now that I stopped putting hormones in my body, that I'm feeling bad. I was like, how is this happening? I just went through this. I just got off birth control. I went through the pain. Like, why almost a year later am I going through something that's even worse? It's like I started feeling pain in my lower abdomen. That was another sign. Lots and lots and lots of bloating, and it was constant. And even when I wouldn't eat, I'd still be bloated. And then I was missing my periods, and I was like, okay, you start to question pregnancies. You start to question, like, what is going on? Nothing's adding up. But it's also at that point where I was like, end of January, February, I was like, okay, something's obviously wrong because I'm not feeling good at all. Physically, I feel terrible, physically. And that's what sucked, and what was so different from birth control is that on birth control, physically I was fine, but mentally I was not there. Mentally, it drove me to the ground. But this time around, hint, hint at what I'm getting to, January 2023, physically, I felt terrible, but mentally, I wanted to get up. I wanted to do things. I wanted to move my body, but I couldn't. I was fatigued. I could sleep at noon. I was like, I can't move. I don't feel well. I have pain in my lower abdomen. I'm bloated 24/7. This is not me. I feel like I'm inside my body in another body. Like, I feel like I'm not in the right body. I'm like, how is this happening? I just got off birth control. I was feeling fantastic. There's no reason for me to suddenly feel bloated all the time, to be missing my period. So naturally I started to assume pregnancy, but I'm doing all these tests. I'm like, I'm not pregnant. And I also know I'm not pregnant. I know how to follow my cycles. I know that I'm not. So I had no idea at that point what was going on. it just, nothing was adding up. It wasn't making any sense. March 2023, I even wrote down that I'll forever remember it was the worst month. It was the most symptoms, and it was months later that I found out that back in January, I had got and was diagnosed with PCOS. So when I went in, I was naturally diagnosed like, oh, you have it, but you've had it since the time that you started these symptoms. And it obviously makes sense because I was losing my periods too. So here I am after getting off birth control and feeling like I finally reclaimed my body, to then have my body, not my mental, but just my body, shut down, go against me, stop my periods, make me feel fatigued, make me feel tired, make me bloated 24/7, just to find out that after 7 years getting off birth control and reclaiming your body, you're then diagnosed with PCOS. I was so mad, and it was such a tough time. I remember February 2023, I was at Alphaland, and I went to Houston for a whole entire month. It was the worst time ever. I think back to the time that I was there, and all I can remember, I was there for February and most of March actually. And I just remember in February, with PCOS, your nutrition is very important. And I remember in February, I'd be eating not much, a lot of the snacks that were very, very processed at gyms, at Alphaland, for example. I was not nourishing my body properly, and all that was doing was making it 20,000 times worse, and I had no idea. Thinking back, I just remember myself crawling around Alphaland. I was barely training even though I was there. I went there to train. I had just signed as an athlete with Alphalete 2, so I had gone there for content, but I could barely lift anything. I was like, what is going on? Like, I didn't know then. I only found out later. But February was terrible. I was crawling in the gym. I never wanted to be there. I wanted to go home. Sitting on the couch was the best part of the day for me. I was so fatigued. I was so bloated. I wanted to hide my body all the time. The only little grace period I had was before I ate any food. It was right in the morning, before I had any type of food at all. I'd feel better, which will soon make sense, as you guys can already tell where I'm going with this. But all of February, terrible symptoms at Alphaland. March as well, it was awful. April, I come back and I gained a ton of weight, because this is the beginning of PCOS. This is where it's really like, I even have photos of when I went to Barcelona. I am a lot heavier then, and I didn't even know. My cravings are out of control. I have every possible symptom of PCOS that you could have. At that point, what did I do? Because I figured it out once when it came to birth control, or at least I took action. I said, okay, I need to figure something out, because I'm putting on weight quick. My days aren't getting any better. I feel terrible. I'm bloating like crazy. And when I finally got the confirmation, like, okay, you do have PCOS, because I went to an endocrinologist, and you could do the necessary blood test there to find out if you do have it. And he told me I did. Let me know that there's a lot of dietary changes that you can make. And so I dove into the research. So what did I do? I went back to the book for help, because as I mentioned in the book, there's a section about PCOS. I went online and read everything that I could. Now, I know the internet is not the best resource, but I made sure that everything was research studies. I went to books, of course. I'm not going to like Wikipedia. Did everything possible that I could in terms of research so that I can figure this out throughout the summer. I took my time with it. I wanted to make sure, like, okay, I have this now and it's likely forever. I need to figure out how I'm going to deal with this long term. So I took my time with my research. It took me months. I didn't have a period. It was on and off. I barely had it. I think for a 6-month period too, I didn't have it at all. Finally, when I started implementing these changes and I was following things that I saw that I had read from these research studies and from the book, it was in September after March. So again, it's kind of like the same story with the birth control. It was September once again that I reclaimed my body, or at least most of it, and I finally got my period again. So that's when I knew, okay, when you get your period, that's how you know that your body is functioning how it should be. Because I had lost it for so long, and to have then gained it back, I was like, okay, so even if it is irregular going forward, that is a natural symptom, at least I know that I'm working and I'm making progress and I'm on the right path. And I was, because I was feeling better. I wasn't as fatigued. So what did I do? I dove into nutrition research, everything possible when it comes to PCOS and getting past it and living life normally. I was actually led to believe that having PCOS would not allow me to live a normal life. Well, today with PCOS, I have PCOS right now. I'm living better and stronger than I was before I had it. So there is a way out. There are things you can be doing. September 2023 to December 2023 was reclaiming my body. I was following everything that I had read on how to reclaim my body with PCOS. And a lot of it is through nutrition, believe it or not. I was back in the gym intensely 5 times a week, feeling great. I had so much more knowledge about food and things that would help me with my journey of PCOS. I was intuitively eating. I felt stronger. I was building my body back. It was just kind of like that transition that I have after I got off birth control, but better, because now this is long term. This is PCOS. This is something I'm going to live with. So I needed these answers and I finally got them. And now I'm going to share some with you. Again, I'm so sorry for the light. As you can tell, the sun has now gone down. I had to set up a ring light here. I'm so mad because this is the most important part of the video for some. And now the light is gone, so that's not helpful. But anyway, let's jump into everything that I did that helped me, that I changed when I was diagnosed with PCOS, that helped me live a better life and essentially live as if I don't even have it anymore. First, let me start off with something that I am not able to change. And as much as I'd love it to change, and it had a very tough mental impact on me for a long while, this is something that just by doing certain things, it's just not going to be the same, or at least for the time being. And for me, that was my hair. When I was diagnosed with PCOS, I had significant hair loss. When I'm talking about hair loss, I'm talking hair loss. I lost it all, and it was super sad. From that time, from March 2023 all the way to September 23rd, I was losing chunks and chunks and chunks from my head in the shower. I was so embarrassed. I'd always had hair like this. Now, keep in mind that what I have now is extensions. I am wearing extensions now because I still have PCOS, and that hair thickness and that old hair that I used to have, unfortunately, it's not coming back. And it's so sad because I used to have hair like this naturally all my life, but unfortunately, it's not coming back. Hair loss was something that, it was just something I couldn't change and I couldn't fix. I was able to improve, and I'll be able to show you how much hair growth I have now, and it will take some time to grow back, but it will most likely never be like what it was before I had PCOS. It's most likely never going to be back to that same state and that same amount of volume. So that's one thing, unfortunately. So if you can relate, hair loss, that was a big one. And I do now have extensions because I realized, you know what? I was able to treat and help every other aspect of my life. The only thing that I was missing in order to feel confident was my hair, because I had so much hair and I went to having no hair. I could barely do a ponytail because of how little hair I had. So definitely for those 7 months, it was really hard until I decided, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to get extensions. So that's the one thing I want to say, that unfortunately, no matter how much I'd like to try, yes, I was able to grow some hair back. For some people, it's not a side effect, but for me, it was huge, and that's what happened. Now, what did I do to improve my symptoms, to feel better, to feel stronger in the gym, to stop bloating? I don't bloat anymore. I never bloat. I'll bloat if I eat foods that will make me bloat and that I'm intolerant to. But overall, I feel amazing. I'm not fatigued all day, and I do not drink any coffee. It's a complete 180 in terms of how I feel. So let's go through everything that I did. For starters, we're going to start with sleep. Sleep is so important. I thought my 6 hours a night that I used to do back then and get away with, I thought that was okay. It's not. You need to be sleeping at least 7.5, 8 hours minimum, maybe even 9 a night if you want to regulate and get past all these symptoms that you're dealing with PCOS. Sleep is huge. It is so important. The way that your body will function when you've had 9 hours of sleep, your digestion, the amount that you will bloat, everything will be significantly less if you get a proper amount of sleep. Another thing is of course you have to be drinking tons of water. That's the second thing. You want to keep yourself hydrated on PCOS. Now, in terms of foods, what I'm doing, again, I'm not giving medical professional advice. I'm letting you know what I'm doing from what I read, from what I learned from the books and the research that I've done. I now stick to a high protein, high fat, not very low, but like lower carb diet. I am not going to keto. Again, keto is if you're not having any carbs at all. I have tons of fruits. Fruits are carbs. I have tons of fruits. tons. I'm huge on fruit. But I am not having any wheats, any processed breads or pastas. If I'm having a bread, I'll have sourdough because it actually is really good for your gut. It will not cause any kind of flare up for me. I'll know immediately if I have a flare up when it comes to PCOS. If I'm eating a food that's not working well with my body, I'll be bloated and fatigued within 30 minutes of eating it. That's what the indicator is for me, and that's how I know how to go about it. So high protein, high fat diet, lower carb in the sense of stay away from the processed carbs. If you're gonna have carbs, I have fruits. I'll have a small amount of rice, if anything. I don't neglect carbs. Potatoes. Potatoes are a vegetable, actually. Anything that is from the ground, that is growing. If you want to tackle PCOS like firsthand, stop with the processed. Nourish your body like it's a plant that was just planted into the ground. I'm talking for so long, so I'm losing a bit of my vocabulary. I'm really sorry. But you want to be focusing on all natural foods that are growing from the ground. This also includes like those energy drinks and things that will make you inflame. And another thing is, and the vegans will not like me for this, having a high animal-based diet and having my meats, it keeps my iron levels high, it keeps me feeling satiated, it keeps me feeling powerful. I have steak with hummus and veggies almost every single night, and I've never felt more amazing in my life. A day in my life of food looks like a smoothie bowl. Tons of fiber in the morning, tons of fiber because we got strawberries, we got cacao powder. Having a very high fiber, high antioxidant breakfast that's also high in protein, which is essentially my smoothie bowl if you want to check it out. It's on my Instagram. Having that in the morning sets the tone for my day. All my cravings are gone. I get my fiber, I get my nutrients, I get everything I need. And then for lunch, I'll have a high protein with a veg, which will either be some chicken, maybe a salad on the side, or I'll make an omelet with one piece of sourdough. For dinner, I'm usually having steak with hummus and veggies, and I'm feeling more powerful than ever. I'm leaning down a lot quicker. I am not bloating. I'm having everything that is grown from the ground. I'm having meats with my vegetables and fruits. To make my meals so tasty, I'm focusing on seasoning, but that's what I'm doing, is I'm having a high protein, high fat diet. I'm not having any of the processed, like, you know when you go to the grocery store and you see all those packaged goods and they've got things you can't even read on the back? I'm not touching those. I'm having foods that have one ingredient in them, which is the food itself. So if it's a carrot, it's a carrot. If it's a potato, it's a potato. The less ingredients it's got on the back of it, the better. So that's what I'm aiming for. And that's what's really cleansed my body, cleansed my gut. And when your gut is functioning well with PCOS and you're not spiking your cortisol by having all these processed foods and sugars, the inflammation will go down, the digestion will be a lot better. And seriously, I never bloat because of it. I've pulled back from having a ton of supplements. I'm sticking to real foods. The only thing and the only exception that I do have every single day is protein powder, because I'm having the cleanest one. I have P-Science. It's vegan, so it's plant-based too, so I don't have any whey, lactose intolerance problems with my stomach. I'll have vegan chocolate peanut butter protein from P-Science. I do have a discount code with them if you want to check. I'll leave it in the description box below, but that's the only one that is so high quality it doesn't hurt my stomach. Another thing is that I don't do, I'm just letting you know my experience. I'm not telling you you have to. There's other people with PCOS that will be doing it differently, but I'm high protein, high fat, lower carbs, lower processed. I'm consuming more high fiber foods, and I'm limiting refined carbohydrates and sugary foods. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also reducing my salt intake. If I will have something with a lot of salt, I will naturally bloat. Dairy as well. I am not big on dairy. If I'll have some dairy, this is not forever. Like, if I go out to a restaurant and it's Italian and I want a plate of pasta that's carbs with some cheese on top, I'll have it. I'm not gonna not have it, but what I'm saying is it's no longer a part of my everyday. So because of that, it's not affecting me. The one time, yes, it will likely be uncomfortable, and I do usually have a bit of a flare up. I try to have it in a smaller portion because I know how I'll feel after when I go out to these restaurants and I crave these foods for a change. But it's not every day. So I deal with the uncomfortability for a bit and then I move on, and the next day I can actually go back to normal because my body is so used to not having it that it's not such a big deal. It sounds very restrictive, but I'm not telling you to eliminate anything. I'm just telling you you want to get to a point where every single day your body is happy with what you're eating, and by knowing that your digestion should be good, you should not have crazy bloating that's uncontrollable and it hurts. you definitely need to be seeking a medical professional's advice on that. Another thing you can do is also seek a naturopath for advice. That's basically what I'm doing, is sticking to a whole foods diet that's rich in fiber, rich in antioxidants, not high in anything sugar, processed. So your next goal after watching this is to start paying more attention to what your body tolerates in terms of foods. If you're having a food and 30 minutes later you're really not feeling well, you're fatigued and you're bloated, it's time to pay attention to what that food is, because figuring out what you're intolerant to is going to be huge in making that change so that you don't have to feel like this anymore. With that obviously comes gluten. Because I eat so little carbs, I'm naturally not really having any gluten in my diet. If anything, it's like a little bit, and that as well has really helped me. Skipping meals does not help. You want to be knowing what you're going to eat, and when you are hungry, eat it. Do not force yourself. I know that for some, you might be trying to stick to your protein goal. Not a good idea. That is not what I do anymore. If I'm full for the day, even if I haven't had enough protein, if so to say, for the program that I'm following or whatever I'm trying to achieve, it is much better not force yourself to have that protein. Let your body be, because stuffing your face with that protein just to hit your protein goal, all it's going to do is going to slow down your digestive process. It's going to affect the following day. It's going to affect everything you eat the following day. It's going to affect your digestion the following day, and your gut, entire process of your gut will just function a lot slower. Whereas if you just let it be because it's full, and that's why intuitive eating is so important. And I've transitioned a lot away from trying to stick to, okay, let's make sure we have enough protein in the day, to now, let's just make sure that we're full. And when we're full, we're going to stop. When it comes to vitamins and these supplements, I get a lot of them from foods. If you want to supplement with others, that's fine too. Magnesium at night is also amazing. Before I get into training, just to sum up all that, a lot of PCOS has to do with diet, of course. And for me and for many, what you'll notice from research studies and online, this is the type of diet and these are the type of foods and this is the way of eating that has helped me so much and has eliminated all bloat. I no longer feel uncomfortable. I have my energy back. I'm stronger than ever. Now I'm so consistent with it that I don't even enjoy going out as much, because I know that I feel best on my own food and I enjoy it so much because I found recipes that work for me and foods that I like for me, that I'm just so consistent with it that this is what I eat. And every day I get to wake up and I get to know that I'm going to feel good. I get to know that I'm not going to be bloated and uncomfortable because I found foods that work for me. Another thing before getting into workouts, your stress. When you have PCOS, you got to get your stress down. Whatever they might be, getting your stress levels down is huge in terms of how your gut functioning will work and how your body will feel and even look the next day. Once I started to get all the information about PCOS after my trip to Barcelona in the summer, that was summer of 2023, leading all the way through to 2024. So throughout all that time, it's about a year until today, I've been on a journey to just get all the information possible to live my best life with PCOS as if I don't have PCOS. And I'm happy to say that thanks to everything I've done, now I feel like I live PCOS free unless I do something that will cause a flare-up. I revert back to my old ways. If I start doing things how I used to, I will get the symptoms back. This is why it's so important to maintain. This is why it's so important to follow through and be consistent, because when you are, you get to feel like 100% every day, and that's the best feeling. Now when it comes to workouts, so I haven't changed much. Instead of training 5 times at the gym per week, heavy lifting 5 times a week, I now do 4. And they're not as heavy as they were. Now, it's not to say that I'm not pushing myself and I'm not doing progressive overload. I am. At the same time, I'm also trying to retrain my glutes because I never properly trained them, for example. So back in the day, I didn't know what I was doing. As I mentioned, I was all legs and quads. I'm at a period now where I'm slowly feeling what it feels like to feel my glutes again. So with that, I've been going like lighter weight, higher reps. Don't get me wrong, I'm still lifting heavy. At the end of my workout, I'm burning 1,000 calories on my leg days. I'm lifting heavy. I want to get this straight. I'm not telling you not to. Definitely lift heavy. But I'm not lifting heavy as constant, which is not putting my body in a constant state of stress so often. I'm leaving a lot of break periods in terms of like rest days. So I'll do my lower and then an upper, which doesn't have as much stress on my body because my upper body is less intense, of course, compared to my lower. And then I'll have a rest day. And then maybe I'll do upper and then I'll keep lower like 3-4 days apart, because the more time that your body has to rest and not be in that state of stress, the less inflamed it will be. My 5 days a week of bodybuilding, high intensity, heavy lifting training transitioned to 4 a week, 2 lower, 2 upper, with 1 Pilates for core. And getting my core stronger on top of like getting my PCOS in check and getting lean, I've felt amazing. I've never seen my core look so good and so strong. And then another thing I'll be doing in the winter time too is I'll be adding in 1 hot yoga, because it's so important to detox your body at least once a week. Like, do something, even if it's a stretching routine, just give your body that detox. In PCOS, your body is constantly fighting that stress. And so if you can get away from it and you can get your body to a state of being de-stressed with whatever you're doing, that's what you want to be doing. And here we are till today. It's pitch dark in here. I can't believe I got through this video. I'm so proud. We did the timeline, 8 years, weightlifting journey, weight loss, weight gain, the struggles, the insecurities, getting off birth control, PCOS, everything I've been through to today, finally feeling back in control of my body. There's no birth control controlling my body. PCOS is no longer in the driver's seat, it's in the trunk. I don't let it take control. I know how my body functions. I understand it. Full menstrual cycles, which is huge. It's something I've worked towards for a long time. My core is stronger than ever from Pilates. I'm learning to grow my glutes more from actually taking the time to build them and just being more intentional with my lifts. I'm not lifting crazy ego lifting heavyweight anymore. I'm being slow and controlled, and I'm taking my time at each session. And it's crazy because I'll take 3 days off and I'll be like, wow, I'm still seeing tons of progress, even though I'm not even going as heavy as I used to, because I'm really targeting that one muscle. My glutes are a lot more rounded than before. I'm feeling just a lot less bloated. Finally, last thing I want to say is that I am no longer training for looks, which is crazy because I'm seeing more things that I want and have always wanted in terms of looks before. And yet I've been training for another purpose, which is to just get stronger and feel better. Now that I've been through so much in terms of birth control, PCOS, and all these things about my body, now that I'm finally in control, I just want to feel stronger. So I'm not neglecting any body parts. I'm eating whole foods. I'm nourishing my body. And the more you do that, trust me, the more you're just going to feel great overall. You're just going to feel so much more fulfilled at the end of the day. You're going to feel nourished. You're going to feel like your cravings are satisfied. I want to feel good at the end of the day. I don't care about the looks. I want to wake up and feel strong. I want to get through my day without feeling tired. I want to mention that really helped me with PCOS is getting my movement. Movement every single day is so important. 30 minutes. If it's 20, let it be 20 minutes of walking at least every single day. If you're at a desk job all day, find a time to get outside, or at night, get a walking pad if you need to. Being active, literally just for 30 minutes and walking every single day, can change the rest of your day on PCOS. Focus on strength, focus on intuitive eating, focus on taking care of your body as a whole and treating it as you would as if it's like your newborn child. Nourish it, care for it. Don't just give it stuff because other people are taking it or because you see it online. The more care, the more love you give to your body in terms of food, in terms of workouts, in terms of your daily life and your routine, your schedule, your sleep, your water, the more care you give it, just as if you were to give to a newborn baby, the more it's going to love you back and you'll be able to see those results that you've always wanted. It took me 8 years to get to where I am today. You do not need to figure it out overnight. Learn from what I did. Take what you can from this video. Apply it to your life if you're currently struggling with anything that I mentioned, and I promise you will see those changes, and sooner than you know it, you're living a life where these things will not even be something you have to think about anymore. Thank you so much if you've stuck through the end of this video. This has been the longest YouTube video I have ever filmed. It is pitch dark. It's been 4.5 hours. Any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, or you can send me a DM on Instagram if it's something a little bit more personal. I'm happy to give you any guidance that I have. I'll be linking the book down in the description and anything else that I mentioned throughout this video. That is my 8 years of my fitness journey, my PCOS journey, getting off birth control, weightlifting journey, and everything in between, all the struggles, how I overcame everything. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to some of you. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd like me to film next. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.